Alright guys, I believe some of you know what these are. These are the knives that Clint and the group guys that got together with him. Clint is Alchemy1 on YouTube and Instagram, pretty much anywhere else knife related that he's online as well. I will put a link to his channel down in the description. These are the Catra knives that were sent off for testing. The testing that everybody said needed to be done because it was more scientific than what we were doing. So, since I'm about to get started on these, I need to show them now because I cannot replicate the Catra edges again. So we're going to take a look at these one by one, and then I'll proceed with normal testing how I would anything else. So here's the Lionsteel. Yes, the one they shimmed and tried to test on the primary grind, and the one that they tested all over the ricasso here. You can see what the edge looks like from them. And in that light right there, you can see the burr all along the edge right here. Some more you can see back here. I had originally hoped that with the length of some of these blades, since they only use 25 millimeters, there would be enough for me to cut with their actual sharpened edge. But I have to say, on every single one of these, because of the amount of burr that's left on here, I'm having a hard time telling exactly where they used all these edges. So this is the Lionsteel M390. This is the M390 Dividend. And you can see there's some burr back there. There's some more burr up through here. All the way up here at the tip. And a little bit over here. And for those of you that have already watched Clint's videos or Kurt's videos, you guys know that with the exception of the Lionsteel that had been sharpened once, I believe, all the rest of these knives were brand new. This is the DLT M390 PM2, and you can see that just about this entire edge has a burr left on it. You can see where they did the Vickers and the Rockwell C testing. And last, the S30V. And I believe this is probably about the least messed up edge out of all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and sharpen all these to 15 degrees per side like normal. I will hit them a couple times. Obviously I have to fix where their sharpener did not reach all the way back to the plunge grind, and some of these tips definitely need some work. This one isn't terrible. This one is off a little bit. This one's quite a bit bigger on one side than the other. And I believe the Lionsteel is the worst. You can see this side doesn't look absolutely terrible, but the tip is rounded on this, and the secondary bevel is quite wide on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and get these fixed up, get them tested, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it a little bit. I'm going to try not to beat a dead horse. I know it's Clint's talked about it. I'll touch a little bit on a few things, and then we'll compare to see how the different hardness readings coincide with the edge retention I get on cardboard, and hopefully this will give us some kind of insight into how cardboard factors into with Catra testing results. So that's all I have for the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and speed through the cutting, and we'll come back and talk all about all these knives. So let's watch the cutting for the Catra knives. Alright guys, before we go ahead and see the actual cutting with the Catra knives, did want to come back and show you the edges are fixed up, but don't get too much of a glare. And I've had a bunch of these in for testing, and from looking at it, it appears they took a fair bit of material off of this Dividend, because that 15 degrees per side is by far the thickest secondary bevel I've had on one of these Kershaw Dividends yet. But did fix the tip up. Although these PM2'S look pretty bad, they weren't too terrible to fix. They did run all up on the plunge grind on these things though. You can see where they got up into this one. But the edges are fixed, and I'm going to go ahead and test them, and after this portion we will watch the cutting, and we're going to come back and talk about how the Catra knives did in my testing versus how they did in Catra testing. So let's watch the cutting. We'll be right back. Alright guys, now we're going to talk about how all these did during my cut testing. How the edge retention came out and how it compares to what Catra was able to get. Same shuffler. It was, all these were so close to what Kurt got. They're all well within the margin of error. Kurt also got 58.5 on this Lionsteel M390. The Kershaw M390, 61.5 two times. I believe Catra got 62 as their average. The S30V PM2, Kurt got 60.7 and 60.3, I believe, averages out to about 60.5. Catra got 61. And the M390 PM2, Kurt got 60.2 and Catra got 60. So we'll go ahead and talk about how these did. For Catra, the Lionsteel, and this is total cards cut, 626. The Kershaw did 707. The S30V PM2 did 641, and the M390 PM2 did 794. So this is how they did in my edge retention testing. I sharpened each one to fix the edge and went ahead and tested them. On the first test of the shuffler, I got 94 feet fine edge and 124 feet working edge. For the verification, 95 feet fine edge and 126 feet working edge. Now, I know that Catra's edges were a little bit off. I set each individual one, measured each side with an angle cube to get 15 degrees per side. All sharpened the same way, to the same grit, stropped the same way, same as always. So that was a Lionsteel. The Kershaw M390, the first test, 126 feet fine edge, 193 feet working edge. The verification, 125 feet fine edge and 193 feet working edge. PM2 and S30V. The first test, 116 feet fine edge, 164 feet working edge. The verification, 117 feet fine edge and 164 feet working edge. And the M390 PM2. First test, 161 feet fine edge, 264 feet working edge. The verification, 165 feet fine edge and 267 feet working edge. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about this one for a minute. I was excited to do this one because we haven't seen a lot of Spyderco M390 that has been softer. This was at 60, and what it let us know is for a production M390, this is a well done 60 HRC. I say well done for production. You can go back and look at all the different M390 I've done. A whole bunch of them have been at 60. And this so far is the best one out of all the 60 HRC M390 I've tested. I do have a couple other different brands of M390 that are a little on the softer side coming up that you will also see that fit right in with this, but this was a great data point to get. Now, what's the takeaway from comparing the edge retention testing I did to Catra? Oh, looking at Catra, this cut the least, second least. This was the second to the most cut, and the M390 PM2 cut the most. Same exact thing I got during my testing. This cut the least, and so on. That's the order of what they cut from the least amount to the most amount. As far as controlling variables, Catra has some other issues with variables that they're not controlling, just like there's some that we can't control, no matter what we do. But I do know these were all sharpened the same way. I know I cut with them all the same way. Strop the same way, you know, same stopping point, same benchmark to go off of, fine edge, working edge, although Catra only does the total amount they cut. As far as comparing the edge retention cutting cardboard to Catra, I didn't spend that much time on it, but there isn't really anything I can find. No easy equation that gives you any kind of indication of what something's going to do. That's about all I have for this. The edge retention that we're all doing on cardboard, myself, Steve, Tom, Justin, the other guys that are doing it, it's just as scientific as Catra. Gives you the same general idea of how something's going to do for an EDC type setting. Once again, I want to thank everybody who was part of Project Action with Clint that sent these to be Catra tested. I appreciate that. It was a great data point to get to see how what we do compares to what Catra does. That's all I have. As always, I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.